It's currently 8:31 p.m. Dan and I just got back from us stopping at the local Bill Gray's in the process of Dad picking me up from Mom's place. Yeah, Bill Gray's is a pretty good place. Delicious cheeseburgers. I got them with everything but the mustard. So these burgers have ketchup, relish, meat hot sauce, and onions. A variety of good toppings to have on a cheeseburger. At least when it's done the way Bill Gray's does it. There was this one flat screen TV on a wall behind the counter where you both order and pick up your order. That flat screen TV played these animated either traditionally animated or one clay stop motion. These commercials where the Bill Gray's mascot dominates in a variety of sports against the other burgers. My favorite was the football one. But there was also one depicting a baseball game. And the stop clay motion depicted a boxing match. In which the Bill Gray's mascot won with just a single punch. Dad got one order of fries and an order of onion rings. And we split between the fries and the onion rings. Yeah, Bill Gray's also still has those sort of frisbee-shaped devices that vibrate when your order is ready for pickup. Though they're thinner than I remember from years ago. Prior to Dad picking me up, technically from Mom's place, he picked me up from the parking lot of the town hall. And then we made a stop at Mom's place, so I could quickly pack my laptop, computer mouse, headphones, the charger to my laptop, the charger to my phone, into a computer case. Prior to Dad picking me up from the town hall parking lot, I volunteered roughly from 4:45 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. 7:30 p.m. being the time Dad picked me up. I volunteered for a sort of Halloween event that was held at the center. Used to be CSC, now it's called the center. I volunteered by running the Witch Hat Ring Toss game in the gymnasium, where there were a variety of sort of carnival games where kids could win a piece of candy, though given how it's just meant to be a fun event, it's not a real fair. I at least didn't take it very seriously. I would just let a kid go try as many times as their parents would let them try. There were 5 rings a try, and after the 5 rings were thrown, to the point where a kid couldn't reach them, it would generally be my job to retrieve the rings, the green plastic rings, and set them up either for either the same kid's next attempt or the first attempt for the next kid. I had to retrieve the 5 rings very frequently. So it was a considerable workout, at least for me. Even though this being an event for kids, the witch hats, the distance between where the rings were placed generally and where the witch hats were was maybe 5 feet at the most. Probably less than that. Even so, I only recall maybe one. I can probably count the number of times a kid actually won a piece of candy. And by getting one of the rings on top of a witch hat, I could probably count the number of times on one hand. Generally speaking, if they got a piece of candy, they either cheated by walking up right in front of one of the witch hats and putting a ring on, or they asked for a piece of candy even though they didn't win, and I just allowed that, since it's not meant to be taken that seriously. Or they threw a ring right in front of where the green and white lines were, which we didn't put down ourselves. They kind of just serve as a sort of arbitrary lines that were for the most part ignored. Well, generally the kids were at where the green and white lines were, with the white line being in front of the green line. Those lines are just part of the gymnasium floor, though. We didn't put down tape or anything to make those lines. But generally, both the green and white lines were of the same width, about maybe 2 inches. And the white line was maybe roughly 1 inch in front of the green line. And the kids would generally stand between those two lines. Those 2 lines, and the distance between that general area and where the witch hats were was generally 4 to 5 feet, if that. The witch hats were most likely sort of black traffic cones, with construction paper wrapped around them in order to make a complete and absolute point. Rather than the non-absolute point a traffic cone tends to have. Though generally most kids only did one full try when it came to the witch hat ring toss, or their parents would give them one try, though. There were some cases where a kid tried more than once. I didn't mind it at all. And also there were cases where one of their parents threw a ring for them. Kids didn't really start showing up for the games in the gymnasium until about a few minutes after the point in which the games in the gymnasium opened, which was around 6 p.m. I spent roughly from 5 to 6 p.m. at least part of that time editing the UCut video file for the October 10 My Dinner video, though I haven't uploaded it yet. That'll probably be what I do next after I finish recording this. Part of today's My Dinner video for October 13. Around 7 p.m., another staff member / volunteer, a male, approached me and asked if I wanted him to get me a cup of apple cider, and I said yes. And a few minutes later, he came back with a paper cup with apple cider in it. Having gotten the apple cider from the nearby room where they had a sort of magic show. By a different magician from the magic guy Dad and I see at our local Salvatore's. I know this because shortly after I was given the cup of apple cider, I asked for Addison to take over, essentially, so I could explore the rest of the Halloween event, which I did roughly from maybe 7:10 p.m. to around 7:30 p.m. First I went to that other room where I watched the magic show for a few minutes, though it didn't look much like a traditional magic show to me based off what I saw. And then I went out aside to the parking lot of the town hall, where I saw decorated truck/car floats by different organizations and businesses. That part of the event was called Truck or Treat. One of those, one of the trucks had, I found out that day they're called Fly Guys. Prior to that, I remembered them as Handsome Harry. But yeah, they're pretty interesting. Generally speaking, most of the kids, if they took candy from my basket, took just one piece, but it was perfectly fine if they wanted more than one by me, and their parents allowed it. My basket had mostly dummy lollipops in them, with some of other varieties of candy. Some warheads and some kinds of chewy taffy, fruit flavored taffy, from what I recall. Here's where I am currently on Idle Wizard. Here's where I am currently on Oceania. Here's where I am currently on Mighty Party. And here's where I am currently on Elvenar. I recall waking up for the last time today around noon, 12:30 p.m., around that time. And around 2 p.m. I had 2 biscuit breakfast Jimmy Dean sandwiches that Mom microwaved with a cup of plain coffee. I woke up around noon, 12:30 p.m. after going to bed around somewhere between 6 and 7 in the morning. After waking myself up with an alarm on my laptop through a third-party website. In the time between after I had those Jimmy Dean sandwiches and before I walked to the center, I was on my laptop in the area that connects the living room to the kitchen at Mom's place, and did some work on the triangle ball polystyrene drawing project.